During his 17-year career, Dan Marino collected more honors than any quarterback in history. When he retired, he held every significant NFL passing record: most completions, most passing yards, and most touchdown passes. But when I sat down to talk with him about his career, one burning question still needed to be answered. First question: could you name 3 teammates, past and present, that you could beat in a foot race?
Oh yeah, Bernie Kosar, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I could beat Bernie. Not now, but that's the one guy that comes to mind.
Kevin Gogan, you think you could beat him?
Kevin Gogan would, yeah.
Yeah.
I could beat Kevin. Played with Jaworski too once for a couple years. I think I gotta beat him in a foot race.
When people talk about you, they talk about the greatest pure passer in the history of the sport.
What a throw by Marino!
Now, Steve Young says that the definition of a pure passer is someone who can't run.
Okay.
You have any riposte to that retort?
Steve's been hit in the head too many times. I think the underrated skill that I always had is people thought that I wasn't fast or quick, and I've always been
So
quick.
you're still upset about the first question?
Yes, I am. That pissed me off. Well, after an Achilles operation, 6 knee operations,
All right, it was a bad way to
bone in
start
my
the
ankle.
interview. Okay.
It's hard to beat anybody in a race now, but at one time I actually could run a little bit. But I think my movement in the pocket, I've always thought that I was very good at that, and being able to create within a small space, make people miss, and still be able to get off a good throw and make plays. And I think a lot of times people didn't give me a lot of credit for that.
When you were little, did you have any kind of practice that you would do? You go back to the old pictures, we have a Sammy Baugh throwing through a tire. Did you ever throw at anything when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, we had a city bus that came by our house, front of our house, every 25 minutes. Yeah.
So would you just sit there wait in the corner?
Yeah, just throw at the bus, sure.
Would you throw? Football?
Football.
Yeah. Did the guy ever stop and get out and yell at you for that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, first of all, did you hit the bus?
Yeah, I'm good enough to hit the bus.
He just played football, almost like it was on the playground. In fact, once he and I were exchanging, I said, well, now what are you looking at when the ball snapped? What are you looking at on your first read? When do you look to your alternate receiver? He says, look, I just look for the open man, and I'm going to hit him.
Almost every man seemed open in 1984. In just his second season, Marino passed for an NFL record 48 touchdowns and became the only quarterback to throw for more than 5,000 yards in 1 year. Over the next decade and a half, Marino set for himself the highest standards and expected the same from his teammates.
Oh my God, did Jackson lay out for that football?
His confidence was unbreakable and never wavered when things went wrong.
Dan just had that belief in himself that, he was that good, that if something wrong happened, it was because someone else didn't do the job.
Yeah, but just didn't come flat. But don't stop. You stop.
I stayed away from my first few years, I tried to avoid him as much as I could because I see him yell at everybody, coaches, players, trainers, whatever.
One time, Duper, he didn't dive for a ball in the end zone. He could have caught it for a touchdown. Yeah. And there was a little out in front of him, and I said, why didn't you dive? He says, well, you're making all the money. Why didn't you hit me in the chest? And it just pisses him off. Then we had a little argument, and it goes from there.
Marino usually wasn't as vocal off the field with the media. Now, I heard a story by some reporter here that said that when they first met you, you shook his hand, you said, I'm glad to meet you, I know you're a reporter, but you're not going to get from me.
Well, that could be okay.
No, is that true?
That might have happened, sure. I don't remember it, but that could have happened, yeah.
Avoiding the media became more difficult as his career statistics continued to grow. But as the years went by, Marino wasn't satisfied with producing just record-setting numbers.
The snapshot of Dan Marino that I'll always remember is after he broke Fran Tarkenton's all-time yardage record, they ended up losing the game that day. And Marino's in the locker room after the game, and Harvey Green, the Dolphin PR guy, hands him a play-by-play sheet from that game. And he says, "Hey, I thought you might want it as a souvenir." Marino goes, "What is it?" And he says, "It's a stat sheet." And Marino looks up at Harvey and he goes, "Pfft," and he just throws it aside. Too many people, I think, will remember him as, quote, a numbers guy. He wanted to be known as a winner. Second winningest quarterback of all time, didn't win the big game. And I think that's what really will stick in Marino's craw.
See, that's the thing about Danny. You know, Danny would give up all that stuff for wins and a Super Bowl ring. He's all about winning. You know, all the records are, you know, that's fine and dandy. You know, it looks good on, you know, on his mantle with all the footballs and stuff. But his whole thing is he wants to win.
Marino throws deep downfield. It is caught by Fryer. Touchdown! That's on 4th and 5.
I've always had the attitude just not to quit, and then I could overcome anything in a football situation. All right, let's make something happen now. Make something happen. Let's go. Play with some urgency now. A little urgency. You know, if you're down by 21 points, you think you can come back and win that game.
It used to be that, you know, if you had 30 seconds left, it was almost hopeless. I've seen him take a team 80 yards in 16 seconds.
32, 31, 30 seconds to go. I believe Marino is saying, "I'm going to spike it."
Nobody pushed the clock the way he did.
Marino takes the snap from center. He's looking. He throws. Touchdown, Dolphins, Mark Ingram.
No, you like that call.
They caught the Jets off guard on that play.
A few years ago, they beat us in a very difficult playoff game in Miami. I go in to see Dan and congratulate him after the game, and I've never seen a player with so many scars: shoulders, knees, ankles, the Achilles, one calf is atrophied. And I'm looking at this guy and I said, how could this guy possibly beat us? And the only reason he could do that is because of the size of his heart.
They say football is all about the thumper, baby. And he's got one as big as a football. A flame burns inside that man, Dan Marino.
Although he was never crowned a champion, I'll always remember Dan Marino as one of football's true treasures. No player ever displayed a greater will to win. And it's that passion he showed for the game that we'll all miss watching this season.
What are you going to be doing 1 p.m. Sunday, September 3rd this year?
Well, I thought maybe I'll call Duper and Clayton, see if they want to come over, have some beers, and we'll throw it around a little bit.